welcome. We're going to go ahead and call the February general meeting of the St. John's Neighborhood Association to order at 7:03 p.m. We're going to try to get through a lot this evening, but what else is new? So hopefully we can keep to a nice tight schedule. So anybody who's speaking this evening, forgive me if I have to try and cut you off or end the discussion. We just have to, we have a lot that we have to get through. So my name is RJ DeMello. I'm the chair of the Neighborhood Association. We have board members all along up here. We have Bernadine, Paul, Patrick, Ryan, Duncan, Kim, and thank you all so much for coming out. You'll hear from us at various points throughout the evening. If anybody is tuning in on Zoom, and if you know anybody that this applies to, we do offer automatic and live translated captions on our Zoom. So anybody where if you would prefer a different language than English to take in this meeting, you can tune in on Zoom, turn that caption option on, and it'll live translate everything that's being said into your language of choice. So please use that if that applies to you, or let people know that they can attend and participate, and that option is available. And the one other thing before we really dive in, I try to say this every meeting, but we have new people coming in every single time. So what does it take to be a member of SJNA? It's very simple. You live in St. John's, you work in St. John's, you do work with a nonprofit that does significant work in St. John's. It's truly anybody that has a stake in the neighborhood, also in Cathedral Park. To vote, you just have to be here and be member eligible. So there's no requirement of you had to have attended so many meetings or the last meeting or anything like that. If you're here and you have that connection to St. John's, one of the ones that was mentioned, you can vote this evening on matters that come to a vote. So
someone walked in right before
me.
Yeah,
with that, we're going to go, as I always say, to the part of the meeting that's the most fun, which is approving last month's general meeting minutes. This is really vital, but where did Patrick?
Matthew from Do Good was.
Oh, great. If you could bring up January's minutes, yes. We'll just quickly go through those. Those minutes were shared via email with the newsletter that went out last week. So we're going to take a very quick scan through them. Let us know if there's anything that is off or mistaken, and then we'll go to a quick vote to approve the minutes. So I leave it up to you the pace at which you scan through. But yeah, let's go ahead. And anybody on Zoom, I will drop that in the chat so you can just take a look and flag anything for us there. Yeah, land far, far away.
Yes. What's the, it does matter. What's the
Brad Duncan is a alter ego, maybe? Yeah.
I don't know. Can you help me with the last name?
Okay, great.
Well, Perrin Faulkner is a PER.
Where's that?
Last line of members
Yeah.
present. I don't know if she has two R's, but I know it's a neat.
Okay.
Have a correction.
Yeah, Bernadine?
Where it says salt cleanup happening the 20th, visited area around 5 Point. It's never been considered 5 Point, it's 6 Point.
Ah.
It is. That's true.
Okay.
They closed one street.
And
Great. We're gonna keep moving.
Yeah. I should play the Star Wars music, shouldn't I? Like
the Jeopardy theme.
Another correction,
Bernadine.
on treasurer. It should not just say general treasurer's update. You should be listing the balance of the general checking account, the art fund, and bottle drop.
Great.
And it should have the balances at least.
I can probably bring up the file.
Or you attach the whole treasurer's report.
I think we should do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
General treasure update report.
Next correction there on number 5, land use. It's not Dollar General, Dollar Tree.
Okay.
We don't have a Dollar General here.
We have to, the brands.
Very,
Yeah, that's good.
very good. Attention to detail.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's it. Okay.
Great. Do I have a motion to approve the January meeting minutes?
I still move.
Thank you, Paul. Is there a second? Thank you, Ryan. We're gonna do this by sort of unanimous consent. So basically, raise your hand if you object, if you disapprove of these minutes. Paul, on Zoom. Go ahead, Paul.
No, my mistake. I thought raising the hand would be approved, but
You're
I
just
raised
anxious
it
to
too
vote.
fast. I raised it too fast. Sorry.
I appreciate it. You're ready to vote. I like it. I appreciate it. And then there's somebody at the door.
Okay.
Would you mind, Paul? Thank you. Okay, so no objections, right? None in the room. Cool. Great. Then as approved unanimously, we can move on. So I'll drop the agenda one more time in the chat on Zoom. The first order of business today, we have put together a potential letter of support for Kidz Outside. It's a group here focusing on revitalizing George Park in St. John's. I do believe we have Donovan on the call here. Yes, so Donovan, would you like to do just a quick, maybe 2 or 3 minutes about what Kidz Outside is and what your kind of the vision is for George Park and why this letter was put together?
Yep, and thanks for having me again. My name is Donovan Scribes. I'm the co-founder and director of the Kidz Outside. We have been at this for 5 years, trying to reimagine the park, knowing that it's surrounded by a number of schools, and engaging at the city, county, and state level to try and direct resources into the park, because what's there right now is deficient. Really last year, a lot of things started lining up where officials were taking this a lot more seriously. And we've gotten in contact with Rep. Nelson, who represents this district, to see if we can secure some state funding to support some capital improvements that'll promote, safety and access at the park. The ask that we've submitted to the Ways and Means Committee's Capital Construction Committee is for $750,000 to be directed to George Park for the short session, which, as a lot of y'all will already know, is underway. It's only 35 days. It started on February 5th, so things are moving quickly. I came here to the neighborhood association a couple weeks ago and kind of gave some general overview of where we're at, and asked for a letter of support that could be submitted to the Ways and Means Committee as they're making their decisions. I've set up some different appointments with members of that committee to just kind of talk them through what we're thinking and get this thing moved across the line. Funding is not guaranteed, so every time that we collectively say that we want this money, it helps kind of move things along, especially in the short session where a lot of money doesn't necessarily move. So this would be extremely helpful in securing that money as we continue to engage with the city as well. I'll say this lastly before everybody makes the vote. I've made a messaging guide for people who want to submit letters individually to the committee. So I'm going to drop that here in the chat, and it kind of explains how you can submit testimony to the members of the committee and explain why George Park is important to the neighborhood. So I just put that in the chat for everybody, but yeah, your support would be extremely helpful.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And if you don't mind bringing up that letter to share on the screen, we can show the membership what has been put together. The link to this letter in the, yeah. While you bring that up there, I'll go ahead and drop that link in the agenda.
Sorry about that.
All right,
It's about as big as we can get.
there we go. This is the letter that was put together by Jesse, a member on the St. John's Neighborhood Association Board, writing to the members of the committee to urge approving the funds, Kidz Outside, for their mission to improve George Park. Yes, and basically, please pass the $750,000 in funding that was requested. You can read through the rest if you'd like. I'm going to give it a minute, and then we can see if anybody wants to make a motion to approve this letter and get it and have it signed and sent to the committee. So,
Yeah. Does you have any questions?
yeah.
So just one question. Hi. What would you do with the money exactly? I use George Park, and it's true, I mostly just use it as a dog run. But there's a water fountain in the slide. How would it change? What would you do with it?
So that is a little bit TBD. What I can say is that we're in some pretty deep discussions with the city and the Portland Parks Foundation right now to also try and push some resources into the park. And what we're hoping is that we can line up conversations about what should happen with the money as money is secured. So I also will say that the 5 years of work that we've done to engage with the community is helping like inform the conversations that we've had with the city, and the county and the state. And part of those have been like some pretty, stick out things like lighting. Lighting seems to be one of the very top things that people have been asking for at George Park. So things like lighting, things like pathways, are some of the ideas that come to mind based off some of the engagement we've done. But that is TBD. But we know, $750 is not a huge ask in terms of like capital improvements at a park.
Thank you.
Any
You're
other
welcome.
questions? Nothing in Zoom, nothing in the room. Is there a motion to sign this letter of support for Kidz Outside?
Kim makes the motion.
We have a motion from Kim. Is there a second? Second from Duncan. So we're going to go ahead and all those in favor, let's raise your hand. Please raise your hand on Zoom and in the room as well.
I saw it looked like Donna had a question and before she had voted.
Well, it's not an urgent thing. I was just going to ask you, Jonathan, I hadn't seen any notices of opportunities to share thoughts about what might happen, and I'm wondering if you have some plans for having, whether it's having a meeting at the library or something, something that you would put in the newsletter for the neighborhood association, just something that I haven't seen any outreach. I know you've done some. I haven't seen anything that has come my way. So I'm wondering if there's some ideas for additional outreach.
Yeah, as far as this specific bucket of money, this is some of the outreach that we've been doing is, meeting with the neighborhood association. We've reached out to St. John's Center for Opportunity, North Portland Neighborhood Services, LaQuisha Manyweather, who's one of our lead organizers, has printed out some flyers for people to be able to, submit testimony to the committee. But in terms of how the money will be implemented, because of the conversations, we're having like some pretty things feel promising with the conversations that we're having with the city and the Portland Parks Foundation. And so what we're hoping is that things can line up in a way where if things move forward, we can have further conversation with St. John's about how we implement the dollars based on some of the foundation of the last 5 years of engagement that we've done to like actualize some of the vision. So I hope that helps answer some of your questions.
Sounds good. I hope that when we get to that point that I'll see some notices of something where there'll be meetings or whatever where, that I could attend and we could be part of that conversation. So thanks. Great work, Donovan. I know you've done amazing stuff here.
I appreciate you.
Thanks, folks. And thanks for keeping your hands raised on Zoom. If you could do that just a little bit longer, we're going to ask everybody in the room to go ahead and do it again. Sorry. And we'll just get a quick count here of the yeas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. We have 11 in the room. Yeah, that's well over a majority of the. All right. The motion is approved. The letter will be signed and sent through to the committee. And yeah, please keep us updated with what the response is like. And then, yeah, the engagement moving forward with continuing to shape how George Park transforms.
Thank you. So will you all be submitting the letter to the committee? Because I don't think it should come from us as individuals at TKO.
Yeah, we can sign and submit it ourselves to them and take care of that.
Okay, thank you. And thank y'all for supporting this. It's going to matter a lot for the next few weeks of session. So thank you.
Sounded.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, everyone there. So we move on. The only other thing from me before we get to our main guest speaker for the evening, I just always want to shout out that we are sort of recruiting, if you will, for both at-large board member positions and also positions on our various committees. You don't have to be on the board to be a member of our safety and livability team or outreach committee. So, please consider tossing in an extra hour here or there for us. We recently held a solve cleanup. We're looking to do those regularly moving forward. There's also plenty of stuff with the outreach team around posting to social media or designing posters and graphics, hanging those posters in advance of events. And actually a really important thing coming up will be around the St. John's Library and advocating for a pop-up while the current location is closed for renovation. So it'd be really important and lovely to have someone who really can join and lead the charge on that front of when other libraries around the city have closed for renovation, pop-ups have occurred, but they've also usually been delayed, where it's been a few months since that library closed for renovation and the pop-up opens. We would love for it to be something that is ready to go and opens as soon as the current library closes for renovation. So that's something we're gonna be focusing on. If you love the library, if you want to make sure there's a pop-up in St. John's, get in touch. Let's help make sure that we advocate on that front and make sure that that vital service is provided to the community for that time that the library would be closed for renovation. Yes. So we'd have to vote to form an official committee. This is to have somebody at least as the point of contact to talk with. I've talked with the manager of the library location about this and the desire from the community, some of the members of the capital team that are developing the plans for this. So it's having someone play that role of being the connector between us and the community and Multnomah County Libraries to continue that conversation, see what is needed, see if there is a time to testify, if there is letters that should be written, if there are emails that need to be sent. So it's not a committee at this time. It's just to have sort of a point person that leads the conversation back and forth. And then if it gets to a point where there needs to be a large amount of organizing, then potentially that could manifest. And coordinating between Multnomah County Library, the capital project team, the staff at the St. John's Library that's there. So it's many parties that are involved, but yeah, connecting those dots, making sure the community feedback ladders up to them, and any sort of information from them ladders out to the community, so everybody's informed, but also that they know that how important it is to have that pop up here in St. John's and have it open on time and have a place where people can go while that's under renovation there. Yeah. So we can chat more afterwards if you have any more questions or anything like that to be involved on it.
There's a couple questions in the chat, RJ, just real quick on this library topic.
Mhm.
So Michelle is asking about if there's an open house the 20th and 21st of January, 12 to 2. So that must happen.
There were open houses. The 20th was postponed due to weather, so the 21st happened, and then there was one on the 27th. And that was the capital team. They're talking about the library renovation. A key sort of distinction is that team is focused on the renovation. If the pop-up side, that is not going to be them. Their money is for the renovation and focused on that. So we're going to have to advocate with the Multnomah County Library staff for the pop-up and ask them to secure budget that is not part of that capital improvement project. So it's a separate pot of funds. And so while we can work with that capital project team to make sure that the community's feedback is taken into consideration on the renovation of the library, we also then need to work with the Multnomah County Library on the pop-up side of things. So it'd be sort of like two separate streams of work, if you will.
And I was just saying one short little self-plug for any that maybe didn't. There was another question here. When is the library scheduled to close? So we do have a YouTube channel that we have all of our previous meetings on. I'll drop a link in the chat. But if anybody ever misses something or wants to rewatch, that's what we do. And it's still on our YouTube channel, which is just under the St. John's Neighborhood Association.
So yeah, and at that mentioning of our YouTube channel, at our last meeting, the capital project team came, shared designs, spoke, and provided the timelines. So there is a ton of information in our last general meeting if you want to go back and check that out on our YouTube. Right now, the line is like late fall, early winter when it will close. So whatever date comes to mind when you hear late fall, early winter, that's when it is right now. So we'll get a more firm timeline as that approaches, obviously. So yeah, thank you everybody for your questions there. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next item in our agenda. We have Do Good Multnomah here, as well as someone from the Joint Office of Homeless Services to discuss a day center that will be coming to St. John's. So for the speakers that are in the room, if you could come up actually, so that the people on Zoom can see and hear you. And then we'll obviously we can present anything or do anything like that, but yeah, come on around this way.
Yeah, the speaking is typically for Zoom right in front of you.
Yeah, you can sit or you can stand, but we have chairs here for you, but yeah.
I guess.
They're the real people there. And yeah, we'll do like 15 minutes.
Hopefully everyone can see. Okay.
Just move it down. Perfect.
Hi, I'm Nicole from Do Good. I am the Director of Housing and Retention Services. I use she, her pronouns, and I will.
My name is Rory Kadire. I'm with the Joint Office of Homeless Services, where I'm an engagement program specialist. So I'll be doing community engagement with organizations like the Neighborhood Association as the project is developing to make sure that we're communicating information out, but also getting any comments or feedback or questions that you might have as well.
Awesome. So we are just here to talk about the St. John's Day Center that is going to be opening on, the address is 900 North Lombard. It's in the health clinic building. It used to be a Subway, if anyone remembers when it was. I'm not sure how long ago that was. And currently the project is slated to open in November of this year. There's some construction and things that need to happen prior to that, just with getting the space turned into a Subway, into a day center. But the hope is that when the day center opens, we're going to be able to offer a variety of services, including case management, housing navigation, but also just basic hygiene needs as well. So the plan is to have a full ADA shower. There will be restrooms that folks can come in and use, a kitchenette, lockers to store their belongings. As everyone knows, the camping ban, while it's on a pause right now, at some point is scheduled to resume. And so that's one of the things that we want to help folks out with. Obviously, I can't store everyone's things, but at least some folks, we can help them with that during the day. But then also just that community connection. We'll have a limited amount of meals that'll be first come, first serve, coffee, and things like that. And then for those folks that are interested in services, we'll have 2 peer supports. So there will be peer-led services as well as a housing navigator to help connect folks to housing resources that they're interested in. So the goal and the idea is that folks can come in, take a shower, do some laundry, and then really start to build that trust and rapport with a case manager or a housing specialist on the team. And we can kind of get the process to housing started before someone goes into shelter. We also plan to have connections with not only our shelter, but other shelters in the area, depending on what someone is looking for, including culturally specific or things like that, so that we can make those referrals to folks and help get them in and kind of decrease some of that time as well. And then again, whatever it is that they're looking for. So initially hours are slated to be Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Obviously our goal is to extend that. And some of the things that we're looking at kind of as the day center gets open and established is being able to open those doors to things like recovery, NA meetings and things like that for folks who are interested. So really just trying to span the gamut of services that are offered and really hoping to build that connection with folks and start that before they enter shelter. Because then what we find is if we're able to do that trust building and rapport prior to that, then the time that they spend in shelter can sometimes be significantly decreased. And we are currently in talks right now to be able to actually start doing some outreach in the community prior to the day center being open, because we did find out that it was going to take a little longer to get it up and running. And so our goal is to have those teams, while they don't have a physical building, going out into the community, engaging with folks in the ways that we can, and really getting creative with that until we have that space available to us. So I think I covered it all, but if you want to add anything, feel free, or if there's questions, kind of why we're here.
There's a few questions in the chat I can go through unless you want anything to add on your side.
Yeah, so engagement is going to be starting up. We were at the board meeting for the neighborhood association a couple of weeks ago. This is really our first interaction with the broader neighborhood association, but we're planning on having community meetings, other opportunities for the community to hear about this project, as well as to get any of their questions answered. So I'm drafting the plan now. Once we sort of have that solidified, I'll share it with the neighborhood association, and they can help get the word out for any of those meetings that we're having.
Let's try and do in room and then online just to mix up and the only thing is when in the room, they can't hear on Zoom. So if you could just try and repeat the question when you say your answer, that'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah, first.
Just a quick question. Do you have an idea of what the demand will be for those services? And the flip side of that is how many folks do you expect?
Yeah, so I mean, I get this question a lot. There's about, and this is a rough estimate. Oh, yep, sorry.
Thank you.
So the question was the demand and how many people we expect services to be. I think I got that correct. Okay. So relying on historic data, the historic point in time count, as well as waiting lists for shelters in the area, there's about 75 people currently that don't have access to services or shelter that the day center would be able to serve. Our total capacity at one time kind of depend on how many we're allowed to have in the building. But I imagine it would be about 10 to 15 is kind of our goal for folks coming in and going. It's not necessarily meant to be a place where people come and hang out all day. It's meant to come, get the services that you need, and then move on. Historically, in situations like this, what I found is if someone does come to hang out and they're like, oh, someone else needs the space, usually staff just talk to them about that and say like, hey, you've been here for a couple hours. There's some folks that are interested. Is there anything else we can get you? If not, can we move along and maybe you circle back in, a couple hours so that other folks can use the space. And in general, when we kind of explain it like that and have that conversation, most folks are willing to move on. And then that gives us a good ratio for staff as well. We anticipate the minimum number of staff we would have at the data center at one time is 2, and the max we would have is 4. So anytime you have a large number of staff, that also decreases the number of folks that you could come in. So that just rotates folks around. So I'm aiming for 10 to 15, but it'll also depend on what everyone says when all the inspections and all of those things are done as well.
Cool. We'll go over to the Zoom here just real quick. So there's one correction and then get to a question. So you originally said 900 North Lombard. I believe you meant 9,000.
Yep.
Yeah, and so I pulled it up here with the folks. Yeah, no worries.
0.
Yeah, all good. So that's the little correction. So we're clear there. And then there's a question from Tanya here. Will there be mental health resources?
That's something that we're exploring currently. I'd like to bring that in there. In the staffing that I have right now, I'm not slated for that. That's just the opening staff to get it open. What we're able to partner with, that has already been discussed. I don't have anything solidified, but that's an ask that we've already kind of started to need. We have our skeletons crew to get the staff open, which is the 4 that we have. And then as we continue to expand services, mental health is like number 1 on the checkbox. So it's already on the list of asks that we have.
Anyone in the room
There's
with a question?
Question over there.
So I don't know who the good kids pass all this. Were you first?
The question was when it would open. Currently, we're slated to open in November of this year. That can change if construction either speeds up or slows down. But that's our current projection is November.
Cool. One more on Zoom. I think you answered this one adequately. So there was just a question, how many people do you anticipate using the service? Which I believe you answered already. So I'll skip to the next one here from Tanya. Are you working with the city task site?
We're not specifically working with the city task site, as in like they're not connected to it. We work with them. I imagine that we'll see folks come over. We're open to that partnership. But they also offer a lot of the services that a day center would offer. So like, we're not going to see folks coming from the task site come over to get a shower unless their showers are broken, or maybe there's a whole bunch of people using it at one time. But what we usually see is folks, collaborating and working together. And so that hasn't been specifically outlined yet, but we're open to it. And I do anticipate that we'll have a lot of crossover in the participants that we serve, just in them meeting their basic needs or us referring folks to get into the task site, them referring folks over to us and saying, hey, you guys have these recovery meetings that we don't have on site, or you have peer support that we don't have, and kind of that collaboration working together.
And just one last thing that I'll add to that, I did have a meeting with Hank Smith in the mayor's office last week, just to start a conversation between the county and the mayor's office to make sure that there's as much coordination as possible. So it's still early in those conversations, but I expect that I'll be in close contact with Hank.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, the touchy American subject, because other countries are dealing with this very, I mean, just what you believe in news, smashing the rock and European news. I've been able to find out how many Airbnbs are in Portland. Maybe this is, you have registered in how many are, but one of the things that I have read in other research is how there's no need sometimes to build new housing. There's a need not to have Airbnbs, because this way you have housing that's already existing. But I've never heard of anything here in Portland. This is like, private property kind of thing, yes, and it's just nobody talks about it. But in one of the cities in France, the university did some research. And in Buffalo, we found out between 4,000 units of housing if they didn't have Airbnb. And there are many places you cannot, which you buy, you sign something that says you cannot do Airbnb.
Yeah, I don't know if this question maybe you should speak to from a Multnomah County standpoint, or
The answer to that question is a real estate.
yeah, so just for people on Zoom, quickly, was talking about if there would be any regulation or opportunity around limiting Airbnbs to open up additional housing units for folks that are permanent housing.
Yeah, so I know just from like a Portland city standard, when it comes to Airbnb, you are not allowed to have an Airbnb property that does not have a person living on it. So that's why we see, so like if you want to buy a condo, you can't just rent that condo as an Airbnb. You can do it for long-term renting, but you can't do it as just Airbnb. Even if you buy a single family house, you can't just be like, I have this house, it's gonna be an Airbnb. A person that lives there has to be on the property at all times. And so you'll see people rent out their ADUs as Airbnbs. But outside of that, the city itself has already has a lot of rules and regulations around that. Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to Zoom here real quick to keep us on, or they keep me on time here. We're good, okay. Michelle asks, is there service for all ages and then single individuals only, question mark?
So we are predominantly adults, so 18 or older, but I'm already anticipating folks will come in with families and children. And so developing those partnerships for and that's really what the day center is for, just because we're not going to be able to serve everyone. And so having those referral services for folks that can service those. And so we'll serve singles, individuals, and couples, all genders and spectrum, 18 or older. This is a day center, so it's not going to offer overnight shelter. So it won't be a shelter. Folks won't be staying there or anything like that. Depending on what the services need, if it's like a quick Google search and we're, able to help them and move on, cool. If not, then connecting them with a resource that we are actually able to. But there are organizations that specialize in families and children. There's organizations that specialize in youth and LGBTQ. And so getting folks connected to the most appropriate thing that meets the need that they're looking for is going to be our goal. We do focus on, like I said, adults 18 or older, and that's predominantly the folks that we're going to serve. But that doesn't mean if someone walks in off the street and needs help, we're not going to do our best to try to help them.
Anyone else in the room? There's a few more on Bernadine.
What's your plan to deal with those that are camping on the sidewalks, especially at night? I know a couple of the property owners around there are concerned about that happening because people are going to tell them, well, we need to be here before 9 o'clock so we can get in the door.
Yeah, and that's a conversation and something we see. So for those that on Zoom, the question was around how to address camping around the site, especially when we're not there, because we're not going to be there. My honest answer is once staff go home, we're limited just like everyone else is. Also, we can't force someone to remove anyone any more than anyone else can. That being said, what I've found successful in shelters that I've worked at around Portland and in the area is building that trust and rapport with folks and letting them know, hey, here's the deal. You can't camp here in this area. And if you camp here in this area, then we're not going to be able to continue to exist. And you're not going to be able to get services here. And setting them up with expectations and letting them know where is a place that they can go, or where as a shelter, if that's what they're looking for, let's see if we can't get you into shelter, whether it's a do good shelter or another shelter that better meets their needs. And then also just going out and engaging with folks. That's what we have found to be the most successful thing, is just having those open conversations. Is the problem going to go away immediately? No, it's not. I wish that I could wave a magic wand and everything would be better, but then no one would be houseless if I could. But I think just having those conversations, and then also the staff and the team there engaging with businesses and saying, what's going on after we're leaving? What are the things? Are there, certain individuals that maybe we see in the day center that we can have those conversations with and say, hey, Bob, last night, the business owner down the street let us know that these things were happening, and that's not being a good community member. And if you're continuing to do those things, these are the consequences that could happen. And really having those open conversations with folks. And then again, as we expand our hours, having staff also be able to go out and have those conversations when things are not going the way that we would like them to. So, that is what I found historically works and what the plan is now. And then of course, adjusting and course correcting, getting feedback from folks and saying, hey, this isn't working. Can we try this? Let's try this. Each person is different. What works for them is different. And it's really just continuing to engage until you find a solution that everyone's happy with.
Yeah, there's a few more on Zoom. I'd love if we can maybe just try and rapid fire it. I think we got a few questions, a few more on here that we want to kind of get through if we can. Letty is asking, will the center be open after school hours for students who are living in a houseless situation with their family, i.e. for showers specifically?
So that's something that we'll have to look into as we get closer to opening. Like I said, our target demographic is adults. And anytime you add children to the mix, there's a safety concern. There's also only one shower currently planned. And so I think that we would probably want to connect with other organizations in the area that are better set up to serve for situations like that. But definitely something for us to keep in the back of the mind.
Cool. I'll just kind of go through a few of these quick here as well. Will the day center have a good neighbor agreement from Caroline?
Yeah, so that's going to be part of the engagement process, putting together a good neighbor agreement committee. I'm sure there'll be representatives from the neighborhood association on there, and that will just basically outline, what do-good responsibilities would be, what the county's responsibilities would be, but also making sure that everybody is just aware of, if there is an issue after hours, that you have the correct contact information, and just making sure that that's just clearly stated, to make sure that that you're able to rectify any potential situation as soon as possible.
Yeah, just a couple more and then we can try and get the last call for the room. Will there be security on location from James?
That currently isn't planned. It's something that we can look into if the need comes up. It's something that we're open to considering, but it isn't anything that we've talked about yet.
Cool. Then there's another note here from Mike. It looks like, how do you plan to avoid all the neighborhood impacts that cause the downtown day center to shut down due to consistent violence, drug dealing, etc.? It sends a link. And then there's a follow-up question or follow-up here. Rosehaven and Northwest has had heavy impacts on neighbors as well.
So again, I think that begins with just the community engagement as well as the outreach that we're planning to do prior to the day center opening. So going out into the community, talking to neighbors about their concerns, also talking to the individuals that the day center is going to serve. So if you've already built that trust and rapport in the months leading up to the day center, they know what the expectations are. They know what's going to be acceptable and not acceptable, and they know already that idea. And then again, setting those clear boundaries from the beginning with folks and letting them know, hey, this is behavior that's acceptable. This is behavior that's not. In the past, when I've dealt with folks who are escalated, it generally comes down to there's a need that they have that's not being met. And so figuring out what is that need that's not being met and what can we do to help them meet that need. And a lot of times, once you're able to find some sort of thing, whether it's like, hey, if I give you coffee, can you move along? Or, hey, we've had this conversation, you know that you can't have those activities, those things in this area. And if you do, these are the ramifications of that. I don't want those negative ramifications. You don't want those negative ramifications. So move on to another area. But again, a lot of times it just comes back to that trust and rapport and finding out what is the root cause and what is that need that's not being met and helping them to identify and meet that need.
Cool. Yeah, let's get through these last ones here.
Like 2 minutes. So
yeah. James, will there be restrictions on substance use at the site?
Yeah, so the site will be clean and sober, just like all of our sites are. We also practice harm reduction. So for folks that are interested in and need help with getting safe use supplies, we'll do what we're able to. But it is not a situation where you can come in, staff will be going through and monitoring and doing wellness checks in the bathroom. The plan is to have the space as open as possible. If those things are happening inside, they'll be asked to leave or stop. And really just trying to minimize the exposure for everyone as much as we can, and also keeping those folks safe. And then for those folks who are interested, referring them to detox and recovery services.
Mike asks, where can we obtain a copy of the contract for the center between Joint Office of Homeless Services and Multnomah?
That is a good question. I can look into it and provide that information.
Yeah, I can look into that as well, and I can share it with the board, and you can distribute that once we have that.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, when we get that, we can include in the newsletter or something. And then lastly, two more here. This is from Tanya. This is in the business district, and some agreement should be with the businesses as well, not just the neighborhood association.
No, yeah, and I was just using the neighborhood association as an organization that would have members on the Good Neighbor Agreement Committee, Tanya. We don't have that committee fully formed, it's still in the early stages, but I'm going to make sure that any interested stakeholders from the community, from the business association, from the businesses, all have representation on that committee. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
And last question here from Mike, will you be handing out syringes on site?
Generally, no, we're not able to hand out syringes. What we will generally do is connect folks to spaces that are safe use spaces where they can get those from. We will have things like Narcan and stuff like that for folks to use, but we do not hand out syringes.
So we got,
and we're out of time. So thanks so much for coming out.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Alrighty. And thanks everybody for your questions and participation. So I'm not gonna jinx it. I'm not gonna give a time update. I'm just gonna keep going. So yeah, we're entering our community corner where we've got 20 minutes set aside for updates from neighbors and community organizations. There's some that have already reached out to get on the agenda, so we'll call on them first, and then anybody else who has anything they wish to raise, ask, or anything like that can speak up. We'll acknowledge you there. So first up, we have Letty Alvarez, who wishes to make a presentation here. Letty, we're going to have to keep it to 4 minutes at the most here so that we can stay on schedule.
All right, if everybody can see my screen, I am hoping to have the St. John's Neighborhood Association sponsor Dia de los Niños, or the Day of the Children, or Dia de los Libros, Day of the Books. This is an event. There's a little bit about me. I received a grant from the PDX Events Action in 2022 through the St. John's Neighborhood Association as a board member. And it was a great event. Here's some highlights. Here's some pictures. We had drag queen story time. We had piñatas for children's of all ages. We had over 300 families come through all of the booths and participants. So there you can see some of our local community members. these are all of the, I listed all of the participants of last year. I'm going to put this in the chat so you can see it for yourself just because of time. But we did have quite a few participants in the neighborhood. And so what I'm asking for, this is last year's event at the library. And so with the resources that the neighborhood association could provide, we could have an event on April 27th at the community center where we would have as many vendors as who can come participate. And what I'm asking for the board is access to unrestricted funds of $1,200 so that we can pay for the venue, pay for entertainment, pay for decorations and marketing. The first in 2022, the event cost, well, we spent about $5,000 because we had the grant. So this year we're definitely cutting the funds down, but I think we could make it a great event still. I'm asking a lot of people to just volunteer their time this year, and then just really bargain shopping and all that. But so that's my ask. I would be participating as a general board member or board member abroad. And so, yeah, I think it just comes down to a vote from the board. If we can get a vote to pass, I would proceed with planning the event. Right now, the community center has us penciled in, so that spot is safe for us. It just comes down to being able to pay for the venue, and with the cost there. I can give you the details on that. And I would like to pay our Poison Waters. Kevin Cook is a great entertainer, and has a small fee, but he's willing to volunteer his time, but I would like to pay him if I can. So that's kind of where the additional funding would go, would be for drag queen story time. And he's also doing the piñatas and the candy and all that so that is it.
Thanks, Letty. We'll go to any questions in the room and on Zoom to try to get through this quickly. Any questions about the event or any what was brought up here from?
I'm just concerned about the timeline in regards to the fact that it's just a little over two months out.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, luckily with the participants we had in 2022, I have a great contact list, and I already have had 4 vendors. Swap and Play is going to participate. Multnomah County Library is going to participate. Growing Gardens is going to participate. So I already have, just from my, and of course, Poison Waters was said it will be there. So my list from 2 years ago, people already are ready to sign up. And so I think we have the people, it's just a matter of marketing it. And that we could do that easily. So I think we're going to have great numbers. The boosters are having their spring fling that weekend. So there's also some cross marketing that can happen. There we could, direct people to go down Leavitt Street, or, head down to probably do some big signs and balloons to point people to the community center so we can get people down there. So it's a great chance to give out books, give out supplies to students. I work at Cesar Chavez. I'm a teacher. So I definitely be marketing to my school and James John. And like I said, 2022 was a great year. 2023 is great too. The library did an awesome job with their event and their location. But if we have a bigger location, invite more vendors, you get more supplies, more giveaways. So
Letty, is there a opportunity or a chance where the library would contribute funding and sponsorship dollars towards this event? Is that an avenue that's?
I will definitely pursue that. I will definitely, and I don't know if anybody from the library is online. Oh, Patricia Moran, she's in the chat right now. So she's somebody who, they're hosting theirs on the 14th. Is that right? Hosting about, oh no, for context, Multnomah County Library will be hosting about 14 Dia de los Niños events throughout the county.
Yeah, feel free to go ahead and clarify.
Sure. Thank you so much for having this. And we were actually going to have an event on the same day that Letty is proposing at the St. John's Library. So we already have staff committed and books and other resources that we would just shift over to have at the St. John's Community Center. And I put in the chat that we have events planned. We just started planning ourselves too. So I know it's a short timeline, but we can get it done. We'll have events at other locations throughout the county. The closest to St. John's would be Kenton, but we would just love to have that event happen at St. John's because it was such a success in 2022. There was so much community support. And I'm so excited that Letty, you're doing this again. And we're really looking forward to working with you. And we have funds to provide the books, to give away the staff to share information about the libraries. And I'm working to see if we can have some of our presenters also present at that location if possible. It's just we have to figure out the logistics because they usually are paid to present at the libraries. And so we just have to figure out how to make it so that they can present or perform at an off-site facility. But I'm going to be working on that if this gets approved by the board or by the neighborhood association.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, I had to just comment. This is Patrick here. Letty, nice to see you. I think I'm just gonna play the bad guy in the room here to just say that is a lot of money for a neighborhood association. I think especially as we're already beyond our budgeting session for the entire year. And as Bernadine goes through every day, it's every single time through our treasurer's report, that's a huge hit. And so I think just to be completely honest and transparent, the challenging part is going to be funding. And so I don't know if that's something Multnomah County, from a library perspective, we can get access to help Letty. I think it's a great opportunity and organization and event. But I just think from a dollar standpoint, like it's going to be really, really hard for us as a neighborhood association to foot that bill, just to be completely honest, without a grant.
It would be 25% or more than 25% of our unrestricted funds.
Yeah, for what we have. Yeah,
Correct.
available. I would like to know, what their budget looks like, total budget, who else, what other organizations are contributing funds to cover the expenses or whatever. And since we have, as an organization, have approved already to support the St. John's Parade and the St. John's Bazaar and stuff, I would say the max we could probably do is to be to that limit that we have already approved, which is only $250 each for this sort of an event. So that other people know when we did this before, there was a grant from the city that covered all the expenses. Nothing came out of our general fund. It was all grant money. So we don't have that.
Paul, did you have any?
Yeah, I would. Hi, Letty, Paul here. Good to see you. Hi. Yeah, no, I just sort of echoing what Patrick said, and I guess Bernie said too. And I think I mean, the way that SJNA supports activities just isn't, we're just not a donor. And we're cheap. We're terrible to deal with. We're here tonight. It's true. We don't have to pay for this room. That's why we're here. We're looking around for where we can hold meetings that are for free. And it just doesn't, sit well to me. Oh yeah, but we'll rent the community. We don't meet in the community center because we can't afford it, And, but I would love to work with you even personally, to find out how we can support Dia de los Niños o Libros. And like when, we have equipment that's available because we got a grant for Safer Together and we got to keep the equipment. So we have projectors, speakers, music, tables, tents. We got some of that stuff, which would be happy to lend. But I just feel like that's different than looking at us as a donor. And frankly, things like the parade and the bazaar, we have sort of sweated blood under a lot of pressure because a lot of us, I didn't want to give them anything because I think they've got anyway, that's just me, I'm cheap. But so I just think, love to see it happen, but not in the way that we're, taking a lot of our money and giving it to you or to this.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Letty can respond.
I was wondering if we could negotiate in a way, because really the biggest cost is the venue, which is the community center, which they do charge $62 an hour. So it really it's going to come up to about $250.
St. John's meeting.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Letty. Sorry.
Yeah. We have to put up $500 up front, but they give us $250 back. It's like so it's about $500, $600 to get the location. So that's the biggest cost. Everything else I could probably look at getting donated or fundraising for that just on my own. People, I could figure that out. But it's just really the venue is the big expense. And if anything you could donate to the cause, I guess. And I'd love to have this be like a neighborhood association sponsored event, because it's something that I could, with advertising, it will help us, get more people than that way, because it's through the association. So I need, I guess, a route to market. But if we could look at maybe, yeah, the venue cost.
So
Okay.
Letty, since we are doing the spring fling at the same time, we're in the plaza, you know, like with the fall fling, we do math day and we have big, you know, areas where math day is, you know, we have it as part of the plaza as well. So if you wanted to talk about the opportunity to have this in the plaza along with the spring fling and have it in conjunction, I don't know how big of a space you want, but we could help you out with that. So like that venue is free. And you know, we could help, you know, with the marketing and all that other stuff. So we can talk tomorrow if you want.
That'd be
That's all I'm
great.
saying.
Let's touch base. Yeah, that would be great. This is first steps, getting the word out. So this is all really good information. So I really do appreciate hearing everybody's thoughts on it. So I think it's something that's definitely can make happen, whether it's in the plaza or, you know, we do get the community center, but yeah, we can. Yeah.
Okay. And we have a question in the room and then we're going to have to close this up. There was a question if this would apply for restricted funds, something like our block party Safer Together.
That's all gone. That's over. We don't have any money anymore. Oh.
Yeah, the Metro refresh. That's how we did the dumpster day last year, and we'll be doing it again this year. So I did see that there was yes, the library is a free venue. So I think to me, it seems like there needs to be further conversation here around the next steps. If there is going to be a fiscal contribution, it does need to be approved by general membership. And so then that would mean that the next opportunity to do that is March 11th, which, you know, is maybe 6 weeks out from the event. So, you know, unless that's oh, go ahead, Letty.
No, that would work. We just have to pay the venue. If it is a community center 2 weeks before the event, so we would have time.
Okay.
Just make a decision. I'll meet with Tanya too to talk about what it would look like in the plaza.
Okay.
I do have some vendors already ready to go. Like I said, Swap and Plays there. Growing Gardens is interested, and then the library, of course, has their big tabling. So if we could all fit, we can figure out how to fit, then I think we might have a free venue. So I might just be back just to share more information about the event and invite you guys to come and advertise it. So.
Okay. So Letty, we have our board meeting on the 28th of February. So if we want to chat, like use that as a way to sync back up and see if there's anything about moving forward towards that March 11th meeting with the general members. So if you're available to make it, maybe we can, you know, set aside the time there to discuss this again, see what kind of conversations have been had and what the best next steps are.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Letty.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Have a great night. Okay. Next up for the community corner, we have Seamus Linsky, if you don't mind coming on up. So those people on Zoom can see and hear you. And here, I'll bring it up so you can take it away.
Is that bright?
Hello, it is very bright. My name is Seamus Linsky. I'm here to talk about two different things. First, there is a City Council District 2 Candidates Forum coming up on March 6th.
Great.
It's sponsored by the North Peninsula Review. It's going to be, that's Wednesday, March 6th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the St. John's Christian Church, just a couple blocks over that way. We're expecting about 15 candidates there. It's about 2 hours long, which is about enough time to take about 2 questions from a moderator. I'm going to be the moderator, and about a couple of questions from the audience. And we'll be passing out index cards at the beginning for people to write down questions, and then we'll pick a couple of common theme questions and ask them of the candidates. So that is, yes, Wednesday, March 6th, St. John's Christian Church. candidates forum for the new city council District 2. Any questions about that? Can you even see me? I'm just
A little bit, yeah.
Wait,
Great.
If you want to,
Great.
there we go. You can step closer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's much better. No questions? Cool, see
The
ya.
church dropped Christian.
Yeah, I
It's
think
the
it's
St.
just
John's
church.
Church. I love it.
Oh,
I don't think.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyway.
boy, first they took it out of Christmas, now
Okay.
church. All right, the other hat I have is, I'm one of the volunteer coordinators of the St. John's Bazaar. So this year, it's gonna be Saturday, May 11th. That Saturday right before Mother's Day, and it is the 15th annual St. John's Bazaar and the 62nd annual St. John's Parade.
Oh, boy.
Both of these events are entirely volunteer run. And we depend on the help of the community to put them on. How many folks here, it's a smaller crowd, I did this last year, have actually been to the St. John's Parade or Bazaar? Oh, good. This is much better. We hadn't done it in like 3 years. So last year was like, and there's some hands there. We hadn't done it in a while, and there were so many new folks here that it was kind of a new experience to a lot of folks. But so that's coming up, yeah, Saturday, May 11th, all day long. Both organizations need lots of volunteers. You can help plan beforehand, you can help day of. There's no end of help. And Paul, I am gonna sweet talk you out of some money for that. So we'll talk about that later, because it's one of the biggest events
It is.
in
It
St.
is.
John's, and I think deserving of your support. Any
Yep.
questions about the bazaar?
What's the cost of sponsorship for the bazaar?
We have
Because I
many
know the
levels.
parade went up there, so.
Oh, we have a whole bunch of levels. We've got cup sponsors, we've got a beer garden sponsor, we've got, I think there's gonna be the actual craft bazaar sponsor, so you can go as high
Where's
as
the
$10,000.
Where is that information? Because it's not up on the website. I'm
Yep.
looking today, so.
It will be up there soon. We're still, again, all volunteer run. We've had a couple of meetings so far. We're getting the website up. The first thing we've done is gotten up our vendor application, so that's up. We'll be having the sponsorship information up soon. But we tend to go for larger, like organizational and larger corporation grants. We stopped trying to squeeze dimes out of the little boutiques and shops in St. John's a long time ago, because the whole impetus for the St. John's Bazaar 15 years ago was to keep all those thousands of people that come into town for the parade, to have them stick around and see what a great neighborhood we have. So it's supposed to boost the neighborhood businesses. Any other questions?
There's a question online, candidate forum, 6:30, is that the time? What time does that start?
I thought it was 5:30, but I probably should have figured that out beforehand. It's in this issue of the
North Peninsula
Review. And it'll be in the next issue, and I'm sure it'll be online, but I thought it was 5:30 to 7:30, but I just got brought into this.
6:30 to 8:30.
6:30 to 8:30. That's good to know. Wednesday, March 6th, 6:30 to 8:30.
How many candidates are coming?
I think so far we have 14 RSVP'd, yes, and there I mean, the registration deadline is until August, and I know of at least one or two other people who are planning on registering, so not me.
Great.
Patrick's
All right.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I haven't declared yet.
All right, folks. Looking forward to seeing you at the bazaar.
Thank you.
And at the candidate forum. So up next, we have an update from Caroline Skinner, Friends of Baltimore Woods. Caroline, if you could keep it to 3 or 4 minutes, that would be
okay.
spectacular.
Look, we have some exciting news. We've just acquired a new piece of property down there on North Reno, between Edison and Decatur. It's 100 by 100-foot lot with no structure, and significantly, it has 2 mature native oak trees. It was purchased by the city with systems development fees, and it's actually adjoining the existing Baltimore Woods property. So we're over the moon happy about that, and we can't wait to start working on restoration there. Secondly, probably a fair number of people know that for some time now, Friends of Baltimore Woods has been holding an annual native plant sale in the spring. And this year is no exception. We're again partnering with Sparrowhawk. They do 4 locations around the city in spring and 4 in fall. And we're fortunate to be one of their 4 locations. They'll do St. John's and 3 other locations nowhere near here. So people who want to order from Sparrowhawk should specify St. John's as their pickup in late April. And then a very generous donation will be given. So Friends of Baltimore Woods, in trade for that donation, we provide publicity for the event and volunteers to staff a 3-day span, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we'll be doing outreach to when our volunteers sign up is ready. What I wanted to convey is that Sparrowhawk has a wonderful lineup of amazing, colorful native plants, not just trees and shrubs, but some beautiful things. And the online ordering begins on February 25th. And needless to say, because supplies are limited, ordering early is going to get the best selection. But the main reason I'm here tonight is something kind of very old and very new. Today, a group of us met. I'm going to talk about a segment of North Decatur. If you go down the hill toward the boat ramp before the bottom, there's Decatur Street intersecting Baltimore, and Decatur there is unpaved. It's very deeply rutted gravel road. And there's been a long-standing issue of RVs parking there and illicit activities, camping in the woods, fire danger, trash beyond belief. And we've wanted for the longest time to think about doing something like getting in bollards. And in discussing it, long story short, we were told, well, you can't, it's a truck route. You can't bollard that off. Well, last year that changed. We addressed that in the 2040 freight plan. Decatur that segment is no longer an official truck route. And so now we're like, okay, well, where are the bollards? And they're saying, well, you can't just bollard off a city street. Oh, unless it's a trail. Well, it happens to be the North Portland Greenway Trail runs right through that section. And the trail would theoretically run all the way from Baltimore along Decatur to Reno. So we met with Elizabeth O'Malley from the PEMO office of Portland. It's just a small office, and they basically do post-COVID apocalyptic mitigation kind of things, and just strategized and brainstormed. And, you know, one issue we're having is we keep bringing this up with the city and then the staffing turns over. So there's a constant flux of people that have never heard of this and know nothing about it. And it's something we've been working for much more than 15 years. So what I'm here to say is we've written a letter, not to the city, but to SJNA. We're seeking a letter of support from the board of SJNA. So if I was to send in that letter, could it be forwarded to the board for this upcoming board meeting that you said is on February 28th?
Yeah, that's the next board meeting. So
okay,
yeah,
if you visualize that stretch of Decatur, we're specifically talking about from Baltimore along Decatur to New York Avenue, that on one side, uphill side, is all Baltimore woods. It's all native trees and shrubs that have been planted and maintained for decades by volunteers. On the other side is the wall. It used to be Cathedral Park Place. Now it's called Workspace St. John's. There's no reason, there's no ins or outs. It's just a long straight run of gravel roadway where unfortunately there's enough width for RVs to park pretty conveniently. So we're thinking of perhaps some combination of planters and or bollards. So we're seeking support from the community, including SJNA. And so a letter of support would mean the world to us. So I'll send in my letter giving a little more background. If I just send it to info@SJNA, will that be okay? I'll say please forward to SJNA board. Okay, I'll do that within a day or two.
Great, thank you. And is there, for anybody like individuals who maybe hear the pitch and want to get involved, is there an easy way for them to reach out to you or to get in touch about involvement with?
Sure. Well, friendsofbaltimorewoods.org. We really try hard to keep our website updated. We always meet monthly on the 3rd Tuesday. We meet by Zoom. There's some material out there that says we meet at BES, but that's since COVID no longer the case. So anyone who wants to join can join. They can email us. They can always certainly contact me or Barbara Quinn or Betsy or Jim. You know, if you know anyone in the group, just reach out. We're always welcoming newcomers.
Great. Thanks so much for coming out. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great night. All right. The St. John's boosters are up next here.
I'll be representing them. Thank you very much.
All right. Go for it, Tanya.
Okay, so there are Valentines to write love notes to the businesses. The businesses love your support and definitely welcome everybody to their business. Huck Labs was just broke into. I mean, yeah, everybody's still really struggling. So please make sure to frequent the businesses and write those Valentines. I'll be picking up so Wonderwood, Two Strokes Coffee, the Great North, and Sparrow Bakery and Alberta Eye Care all have, I'm sorry, Cathedral Eye Care all have the bags that you can write Valentines to. And then I pass those out to the businesses on Wednesday night and draw a winner for cookies. So that's pretty fun. And then on our calendar at stjohnsboosters.org, we have all of our events that we're going to do for the year. I don't know, was that shared last month with you guys? All of our events? No? Okay, so April 27th, we're going to have the Spring Fling. There's going to be lots of activation going on for that. In June, we're going to bring back the game nights. So June, July, and August are going to be game nights every Thursday night again in the plaza. There's going to be a beer fest slash bar crawl sort of thing going on June 15th. And so then July, August, more game nights. September, we're going to have the Fall Fling, September 21st. We're going to have a Halloween pub crawl on October 19th for the adults, with the Halloween trick-or-treating on October 26th. And we are going to close down Lombard for that. And then we're going to bring back ugly sweater events. We're going to have the scavenger hunt again from November 15th to the December 15th. We're going to have the window decorating again. We're going to have the tree lighting on November 22nd. We are not going to do the shopping event because in December, we're going to do the ugly sweater bar crawl. And then we are going to try to, I am researching, I can't 100% promise this, but we're going to try to break the world record on the St. John's Bridge for the most people gathered wearing ugly sweaters. So this event is going to cost, I mean, Guinness Book of World Records is a $14,000 bill. Just to get the barricades to close the bridge is a $12,000 bill. I was going to ask Paul personally to help fund this, but you know, with his comments tonight, I don't think I'll go for that. But anyways, so we're gonna have a lot of fun with that, and anybody who wants to join in any of these events or want to help out, you know, let me know. The Guinness World Record is going to be intense. So anyways, there you go. Those are our events. It's on the calendar on the website. If you have any questions, just email me or give me a ring.
Thank you, Tanya. And we'll be sure to continually keep the community updated when events are coming up, and you know, see you all out there with your ugly sweaters on the bridge. Thanks again, Tanya. And the last update we have from community organizations, St. John's Center for Opportunity.
Hey, good evening. I'll keep it super short. We are hiring a new farmers market manager, and I am also leaving, so we're going to be hiring a program and outreach coordinator as well. All that information is on the website, and we've got some social media posts up, and I believe a newsletter went out today as well for folks that are interested in checking it out or maybe even applying. Yeah, that's all I got.
Well, thank you. And thanks for your service to St. John's. And any questions from anybody? All right. Thank you again. So we're going to keep maybe 5 minutes here for if anybody has questions, comments, or concerns in the room or on Zoom, any community member who wasn't on the agenda but wants to raise something, ask something, anything like that. Raise your hand now. Otherwise, we will continue to move along in our agenda to board updates. Yes, go ahead. Great. Okay. So for those on Zoom, March 6th an Adopt a Bike event where we'll be matching students with bikes and like the safety gear to go along with, of course. You'll send along that information. We can include that in these minutes afterwards, and then also in like a future outreach, email, social media, or things like that. So yeah, thank you. Anything else? We've got maybe 2 more minutes here. All right. Hearing none there, we're going to go ahead to board updates. I'm saying this to like reverse jinx it. We're only 13 minutes behind schedule. So maybe we can just move it along. Vice Chair Patrick, do you have anything you want to provide for updates?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. As I'm sorry. This needs to go over here. Yeah, perfect. I was just going to provide a quick update on the task site, specifically.
Yeah.
So we have Hank at the city that we're working back with, specifically on updates. So the latest that we heard back from him, it sounds like everything is on track, but sorry, the task site, for those that don't know, North Portland Road / just north of Fessenden, past Sherway on your way to Columbia, or past Columbia rather. There's going to be a task site that is going to be primarily for RV temporary assisted shelter.
Temporary alternative shelter.
Alternative shelter site, yes, exactly. So basically, they're still in process of providing DEQ with all necessary information for them to make a determination around site remediation. I know there was some ecological concerns there. He says it's not unusual, but it takes some time as we provide information. Then DEQ reviews and asks for certain detail, and that continues on. So basically, construction cannot be started until they go through that process as part of the permitting process. And so it's all part of the normal brownfield development process, which involves remediating the land post industrial occupants left that site polluted. One update within this is that we spoke to DEQ and plan to host a joint public meeting once DEQ has enough information to make a determination. So once we all know about that, we'll be able to help communicate that out if anybody else is interested.
Sorry, was that like a quote when the "we" was that Hank saying "we"?
Yeah, sorry, I'm reading it verbatim. Yeah, so so that isn't Hank's voice. Would be speaking to DEQ, and then we at St. John's Neighborhood Association will communicate when that meeting is happening. And then lastly, it says they're working. They have some few names that are willing to participate in the SJNA Good Neighbor Agreement process. They're working on setting up some time and meetings in the near future, and then they'll be communicating with us on that. And then we're going to be identifying someone hopefully on the board to, if there is any interest to.
It's a thing where anybody who is on the board, if they're interested as an individual, can serve on this Good Neighbor Agreement committee, but there's not an official St. John's Neighborhood Association representative to this process.
Yep.
Look, when we first talked to Hank in October, he said that they were going to start moving people in January. They don't have permits yet, and it's February. So if this does happen, it's not going to happen for a long time. You might have seen the news that recently they're expanding capacity at some of these safe rest villages that already exist to make them sort of closer to task sites in size, recognizing the difficulties of finding and creating brand new locations such as the one here. And so with that, there is, in theory, I don't know, I don't know what the permitting looks like or the land looks like, but in theory that we should be prepared to that they might increase the capacity of the Peninsula Crossing Trail Safe Rest Village. That might also be on the table in the future. It wasn't part of the 2 that were expanded in this initial round, but we'll see, I guess. But yeah. Now, Bernadine, Treasurer's report.
Yep. For those that are here, there are copies on the table of the treasurer's report if you need that. and stuff. For our general checking account, this is from January 7th through yesterday and stuff, February 11th. Our beginning balance was $12,570.48. We had no income, but we had expenses. To Paul here for a reimbursement of the Safer Together for the third quarter of expenses that we had of $1,412.04. Then we had MailChimp, which is our web services, our email. That's $38.25 a month. And that is with a nonprofit discount. So we're very glad for that. And then we returned funds that were left over from the Safer Together grant to the city of Portland. That was $961.81 for total expenses of $2,412.10. Our ending balance is $10,158.38. Part of that is restricted, $3,085.60 for our Metro grant, which covers our cleanups, our dumpster days and stuff. Then we have $2,735.08 still in the Safer Together grant. That is to cover the expenses from the fourth quarter, which is September through December of that grant, which that should be paid out shortly. And then we still have $65.65 restricted from the Day of the Child that we did to the George Middle School check that they still have not done. I now have an appointment with the principal.
Give it to Letty.
And stuff. So that leaves us with unrestricted funds of $4,272.05. That balance is to cover all the other items and stuff we still have in our budget of things coming up that we need to pay for. Then we have an art fund, same dates, January 7th through February 11th. Beginning balance, $100.04. No income, no expenses. We still have $100.04. Then in bottle drop, same dates, January 7th through February 11th. We started out with $396.20. We had income of a bag dropped. This is from the Solve cleanup. We collected $4.20. That's the most we've been able to collect off of a cleanup and stuff. That was really great. And then other bags that were dropped various dates was $8.70 for a total income of $12.90. Our ending balance is $409.10. And then you'll notice the note down at the bottom. The holiday give bonus, which was bottle drop, giving us a 20% bonus for those bags that were dropped during specific dates. So just before Thanksgiving through December 2nd and stuff, we got $9.70. That was included in last month's treasurer's report, but it was just as the income coming in under bags dropped and stuff. Did not catch it that it was the holiday give bonus until after that report had been made. Any questions? Okay.
Do you have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Do we need to do that?
We need to do it.
We did last time.
Hmm?
We did last month. We approved the treasurer's report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I move we approve the treasurer's report.
We have
Let's go, guys.
We have a
We can do
second?
it. We can do it.
Great. All right. Everybody raise your hand if you approve. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got a thumbs up. That's 1 there. 5,
4, Or people are dropping like flies.
Yeah.
here, So.
Yeah.
Right, we're good. We got a majority.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Paul, Secretary, updates.
Okay, very quickly. Well, I'm going to update on Safer Together. And first of all, an apology. I have been coming, the last couple of meetings I've come in, said, congratulations. We said we were going to do about 30 block parties and we did 30. And I was doing the final report and I was very meticulous and I kept getting a different number. There had been one scheduled on Halloween and I was just looking at the weekends because they're on the weekends and there were 30. But there was one, so we did, you all did 31 block parties. So we surpassed our target of 30. And so we don't have any money left. But we have more important, we have things like this projector.
Yes.
Big speakers, an indoor outdoor screen. And we have a certain freedom of activity because we're not, PBIM was wonderful to work with. I have to say, I love those people. But we can do essentially anything we want to. And I want to have I said we're going to do a planning meeting. And I'm sort of thinking of February 29th, because that's like a free day, leap year. And you don't have to work that day or just take the day off.
Yeah.
It's not true.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't even exist, do February 30th. And no problem, but we'll post that and stuff. And just sort of get a little clearer, but I really want everybody to expand their visions about what we can do. And I love the idea of showing probably short videos at block parties. I mean, somebody can show Little Bear Maid if they want to, I don't care. But I'd love to have videos that also build disaster preparedness and community. And there are a lot of ideas out there. So if you're at all interested in getting together and conceptualizing how this can be even better, and I thought last year was great. I just loved it. It can be even better this year. And let me know and you can come to the meeting and we'll exchange ideas. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the goal, we had 31.
Yeah.
If we could have 20 people come back and hold a block party and then 20 new people, and now we did 40, let's keep growing it.
We already have one.
There we go. Sign me up for number 2.
Okay, we already have 2 signed up. No, seriously.
Great. Next up is safety and livability. I know Ryan had a jet. Did he leave an update or?
Yeah, no major updates. I think he's working with PMO. There was some opportunities around some potential lighting grants that he was interested in from the business district. And so I know he's going to be working through that side of things. And then obviously working closely with Do Good and the day use shelter as that further develops. But yeah, no major updates from his side of things.
Great. And yeah, I think ideally we'll have another litter cleanup in March, towards the back half of March. So keep an eye out for that as well. Land use. I don't believe Brennan is on, and I did not see an update come through. So we can move on to outreach. Juan, do you have anything you'd like to update?
Just that I don't know if I said this on the last meeting, but maybe I didn't. We're looking to see if we could make the meetings in other places, and we already went to see a place in Fessenden, just to have more people that are from St. John's come to the meetings, because I know that it's easier for the people that are closer to where we host them right now. So giving them that option to come to the meetings would be to include them. And I don't know if there's any updates in regards to that, because I feel like you know a little bit more about it, RJ.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, James. Okay. Right. Great. Thank you, Seamus. Yeah, and for those on Zoom, it was Seamus was mentioning past involvement with the Neighborhood Association and securing George Middle School as a venue for some place around Fessenden. And that's, ultimately the goal, I think, is actually what we're going to be moving forward and doing is rotating our meetings, having set locations for them and a set rotation schedule so that it can be known and understood. but providing that opportunity for the entire neighborhood to be involved. So, for example, this month here at James John, March, somewhere along Fessenden, we were looking at El Lento Botanero potentially. They have an event space there. Potentially, George Middle School could also be an option. We'll kind of see what the right option is in that neck of the woods. And then ideally sit-in school and up in that area. And if we were able to do that, that would mean that every person in St. John's would have a meeting within a half-mile radius of them, basically. So we would, February here, March Fessenden, April sit-in, May here, June, July, and so on, and just kind of continuously rotate. But go out and to different parts of the neighborhood, make sure we're hearing from neighbors throughout. So,
And are we gonna have the next meeting there, or are we gonna push it another month, or like how is that looking?
the goal is to have March's meeting on Fessenden. Yeah, so I think we had talked, we had gone and toured Antojo Botanero. We think it'll work from a tech perspective, space wise. So I think right now. It's very likely that we have our meeting there in March, see how that goes, make sure if it goes well, then we can continue there. If there's any sort of issue like that, then maybe we could explore George Middle School or something like that as another venue around Fessenden. So yeah, plan for March's meeting to be along Fessenden at El Antojo Botanero, as long as that continues to work out. So be on the lookout for email. We'll be sending out an email confirming that. So be sure that you're subscribed. If you're not, go to our website and subscribe there. And then, yes, ideally then April would be somewhere sitting or in that region. So that is not confirmed, but that's the goal.
We're still experimenting with it. Like this is just a first attempt, and we'll see how it goes. But I think it's overall going to be good to make it more accessible for all the neighborhood to come to the meetings.
Yeah, and we'll build out to make sure our calendar is always up to date, make either a chart or a graphic or something. So we don't want it to be confusing for you guys, especially that like to come in person. We understand that it can be hard to know where's the meeting happening this month. And so we'll make sure to make that really clear for everybody. So we don't lose anybody along the way. And we'll always try and be on Zoom as well and report on YouTube. So we'll have that as our full offering. Always.
Just trying to be as accessible as possible. All right, we move on to at-large updates. Anybody want to go first? Go ahead, Kim.
We'll get way more details next month, and I share.
Yes, so for those on Zoom, our survey project, we've passed 500 submissions. We had an event, the Apartments by Pier Park, earlier this month, 26 responses from that, and be sure to come in person or via Zoom and to our next meeting where we'll kind of do the full report on what we've learned. Thank you, Kevin. Duncan?
No updates for me.
The hero of the evening. Let's get out of here.
Good.
Well, and with that, then we can go ahead and close the February general meeting of the St. John's Neighborhood Association at 8:41 p.m. Thanks so much for coming out, y'all. Thanks to everybody on Zoom, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.